Hi guys, Mrs. Binky here. Today I'm going to teach you how to create a graph using Microsoft Excel. We are going to be using data from the Penny Density Lab, and I am just going to take you through a series of steps that will act as a tutorial for you to complete the lesson that I have for you today. Now, what I encourage you to do is pause as needed to complete the task at hand, so that if you have any questions you can ask me, or if you need just a little bit of time to complete the task, you can always go back in the video if you need further instruction. If it didn't make sense, just watch it again to watch the steps again. So these are the steps that you're going to need to follow. So it's going to start in our Neo app, because in our Neo app, if you go into our classroom and check the news, this is where there is a link to the spreadsheet. Now this happens to be hour 1 that I'm working in right now. It doesn't matter what hour you're in. I gave the same announcement to everyone. So I'm clicking on this link to open up this spreadsheet. So here's the spreadsheet, and what you need to do is you need to click on the tab that corresponds to your hour. Each of the tabs has 4 columns: your last names, the balance number, the penny volume, and the penny mass. Now I have rearranged each of these tabs so that the penny volume is in the first column, not the first column, but when you look at the volume and the mass together, the penny volume is in the left column and the penny mass is in the right column. That's going to help us make a graph of mass versus volume later. Now I want us to use Microsoft Excel. Right now the data is in Google Sheets. So what we need to do is we need to first prepare ourselves by opening up an Excel document. I am hoping that I just expanded the viewing a little bit, so you're going to click on Excel. You may have to go to the Windows tab and search for Excel, EXCEL, and you can open up Excel. You're then going to open up a blank workbook. What you may want to do at that time is just resize it and just move it off to the side like that. Okay. Now click back into your penny density data. Again, this is for each of the hours. I am going to see if I can bring my viewing screen back up a little bit, crossing my fingers that this has worked. And we're going to go to your hour. So if you're in hour 1, click on the hour 1 tab. If you're in hour 2, so on and so forth. Alright, I'm going to choose hour 10. This is a hypothetical set of data that I tabulated. As can be seen, was collected by me, Mr. Brazier, Mrs. Rodriguez, Dr. Russell, Mr. Laskowski. Miss Stewart decided to come in and collect some penny density data, as did Mrs. Larson and Mr. Lupke. So everyone is excited about science in this school. Alright, so once you're in this tab, what I want you to do, so making sure that you're in your tab and not mine, click on this little rectangle right up here. That highlights everything. Alright, now what you can do is you can either right click and hit copy, or you can use the command settings on the keyboard, which is a Control-C. Clicking Control-C will copy everything that's highlighted. Then I want you to go into your Microsoft Excel document and click in the first block there and paste it. Alright, so our data is now pasted into Microsoft Excel. At this time, I want you to go, we need to save this. So this is saving on your file, and let's save it into the hard drive, your documents. I am going to call this penny density video demo because that is what it is for me. All right, so saving it into my documents. Okay, now this is saved, and what we need to do right now is going to seem wild and outlandish and crazy, but it needs to be done. I don't even want you to think about Google Sheets anymore. All right, so we are going to completely get out of the internet. Watch this. Boom, it is gone. That, please pay no attention to that because that doesn't matter. I'm going to talk about that later. And I'm just going to clear my screen a little bit. Okay, so now I have my Microsoft Excel up, and this is what we're going to do with it. We want to be able to view this tab. So if your tab is not open, if this ribbon is not open, I don't even know what to call things. I think this is called a ribbon. We want to open this up so we can see it at all times, and then go over to this little pin that is going to pin it in place. It's going to pin the ribbon in place. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make a graph of penny volume on the x-axis and penny mass on the y-axis. So this is a graph of mass versus volume. Now on a graph of mass versus volume, on a graph of something versus anything, it is always the first thing that's on the y-axis, which is the one that goes up and down, and the second thing that's on the x-axis. Now when we're creating a graph, we want whatever we want to be on our x-axis is going to be in the column first, and whatever we want on the y-axis should be next to it, to the right of it. Okay, so the only information we need is this data right here. Oh, my lights just went off. Oh, my Lanta. I don't know what you can see of me, but it is dark in here and there's nothing I can do about it. Perhaps you'll just see me in the darkness. Oh, scary. I may have to get up in a moment because I don't know if I can handle it, but at any rate, what we want to do is we want to highlight this first column, and then we want to move it over to the second column. So these two columns are now highlighted. Do not highlight excuse me, do not highlight, oh, I have a sneeze coming on now. This is just really getting interesting. Do not highlight the letters, all right? We're just highlighting the numbers. Then we're going to go to Insert. On this ribbon, there's a region right in here where you can see charts. We want a scatter chart, and we just want it to look like this. Okay. Now, the chart title is going to be Mass versus Volume Classroom Penny Density Lab. Okay, and you can see that the chart is right here. The next thing I want to do, just to keep things clear, is we want to put labels on these axes. So we're going to add a chart element, axis titles, and then we're going to choose primary horizontal. This will give us the horizontal axis title. And you can see that it's just been put in. So again, to get there, you're going to add chart element, axis titles, and then primary horizontal. Okay. Now I'm just going to highlight that, and here I'm going to type volume, and we always want to indicate what the units are, and in this case it's milliliters. Okay. Okay. The next thing that we want to do is add the axis title for the vertical. Going to add chart element, axis title, and primary vertical. I'm going to highlight that. This is mass, and the units are in grams. Okay, so now this chart has all of the elements that a good chart should have. A nice title, the x-axis labeled and the y-axis labeled. Now, one of the purposes of this lab was to show you that if you make a plot of mass versus volume for a series of data points collected in the lab for a particular substance, that the slope of that line is equivalent to the density, an experimental density. So I want to just make this a little bit bigger, like this, so we can see. And then I didn't mean to do that. I'm just gonna take the whole thing and just move it over a little bit so we can see it at all times. There is one of the quick layouts here that will allow us to put a best fit line on and give us the slope. So if we choose quick layout, this one right down here is the layout that we need, layout number 9. You see a little f of x there? That is the one of the quick layout charts that gives us the slope, so I'm going to choose that. Now what we can see here is we can see the slope data given, and we're just going to make it a little bit bigger. So what you can do is if you click all around, we just want to click on that. If you click inside, you see a little dotted line all around, and that will allow you to change any text that's in there. If you click right on it, that will put a bold line around everything, and that will allow us to change all of the text in there with one swooping click. Alright, I want to make the slope data a little bit bigger so that I can see it. And I'm just going to move it off to the side here. So knowing that the slope formula for a line is y equals mx plus b, where this is our x-intercept, I don't remember, y-intercept, x-intercept. I'm feeling very foolish right now because it is just completely eluding me, but this m part is the slope. Now this data set that all of the teachers collected shows a slope of 6.9. Now the accepted value is 7.2. However, I am just going to delete this because I don't want it there. I just think it's kind of ugly. However, there are some serious outliers here that I do not think should be included in this data set. So what I'm going to do so that I can see these where these data points are and remove them is I'm going to make them a little bit easier to find. So as you scroll through the Excel spreadsheet, you can see that this kind of scrolls with it. We don't want that to happen. So what I want to do is go to View, and I want to go to Freeze Panes. In this case, I want to freeze the top row. Okay, so that top row is now frozen. The next thing that I want to do, well, that's kind of weird. The line is showing up there. I guess it's not hurting anything. The next thing that I want to do is I want to sort the data so that I can easily find without having to search through all of these points. So I want to sort the data. What we can do to do that is you can click on the C. So we're going to sort by this column, the penny volume. and you can go to Data and then Sort A to Z. Now this sort warning is going to come up, and that's okay. Don't be warned. It says expand the selection. Yes, this is what we want to do. We want to expand the selection. Mr. Laskowski's name wasn't showing up, so I just wanted to show that. Alright, so now we have our smallest volumes first, and we are going into increasing volumes. So when we're looking at our data, I'm looking at this point right here. And as I hover over it and just let it rest there, it says that the point is 1.648. So that is this point right here. Now one thing that Microsoft Excel has that Google Sheets does not is you can watch this in real time. I'm just going to consider this an outlier. This is an outlier. It does not make sense. I'm going to delete it. Backspace, backspace. I deleted that point altogether. And you can see that by doing that, the slope information has changed. The accepted value for the post-1982 copper pennies is 7.2. Right now our slope value is at 7.16. I'm not sure how this is going to change when I remove these outliers, but these outliers need to go. Alright, this point here is 5.3 and 120. Now that these are in numerical order, I have 5.3 and 120. Now, unfortunately, we couldn't see that in real time, but I did get rid of it. Alright, I think that this is an outlier here, 14.2 and 135.2. 14.2 and 135.2. And that changed the slope to 6.99. This point 7.5 and 13.1. 7.5, 13.1. Definitely an outlier. And this one right here, 8.5 and 17.1. 8.5, 17.1. Now, this might be a stretch, but I do not think these are far enough away for us to call them outliers. So I am going to leave this as it is. At this point, what I would like you to do, once you have your graph complete, you have your slope data, maybe not quite in that position. Let's just put it right there. I want you to click on this graph. If you click on the outside of it, it'll highlight everything. You can do a right click, copy, and then in either a Google Doc or a Microsoft Word document, let's just go into Google Docs. Google Docs, make a blank one. I think this is going to work. I am going to paste. Alright, there's my chart with my axes labeled and my slope information. Now theoretically, since every one of you are making your own, you may decide that some are better outliers than others. With my data set, there wasn't any super crazy outliers. Now, the next thing that I want you to do is just put this into the back of your mind. I want you to repeat this process with your data only. So I'm going to go back into Microsoft Excel, And my data is all scattered all over the place now. So what I want to do is I want to resort this so that I have access to my data. And I want to sort by last name this time. So I'm going to highlight, click on the column and sort by last name. Click A to Z sort. Again, morning, ding ding. I'm going to expand the selection. There, here I have all of my data. Now, I have removed this outlier from before. I don't remember what it was, so I'm not going to include it in this data set. If for some reason you don't have at least 5 or 6 data points, at a minimum 5 or 6, I want you to combine data with a group that's either above or below you. So this is my data here. Banky, 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 banky. I'm just going to put a little highlighter on it to separate my data from the rest of it. Now I want to make a graph for just my data alone. So I'm going to follow the same procedure. I'm going to highlight my data. I'm going to go to Insert, Scatter Plot. I want to choose a quick layout. I'm going to choose the one that says FX. And I am going to get rid of this because I think it's ugly. When we chose that quick layout, it actually put axes titles in there for us. So here we have volume in milliliters. Whoops-a-daisy. And here we have mass, grams. I messed it up again. Chart title. I have mass versus volume. And since you worked with a group or a partner, you can put your last names here. It's just me, so I'm going to write Banky. So if I was going to include Banky, I would include Banky and Brazier and Rodriguez. Alright, but I'm not, it's just me. If you shared data with another group, you could put their last names on. You could say mass versus volume group data. If you don't want to put names on, you could put partner data. And again, you just might want to make this slope a little bit bigger. You might want to change the size of your axes to make them a little bit bigger. My computer is beeping. I'm not sure if you can hear that or not. But then we want to do the same thing that we did before. Click on this, right click, copy, or Control C. Go back into that Google Doc and hit Control V, which is a paste. Okay. When you are done with this assignment, I need you to print this off. Today we will print to H508A. I will have paper in there and we will go and collect it. Now, one thing that I want you to make sure that you do is write your name on the top. Alright, so I am going to print this off. One thing that I want you to do is I want you to leave a little bit of space in between these two graphs, because the next thing that I'm going to have you do is do a percent error calculation. Once you have this print off, you can just write this out with just with handwriting. You could write it out on here. If you want to type it, you can type it. So we're going to do a percent error calculation, and the formula, I actually have the formula here. The formula is this right here. So I'm just going to take a little snip of it using the snipping tool. New snip, snippety snip, copy. I don't want to save it. I'm going to minimize this and paste. Control V, paste. Now, that shows the cursor right here for some reason. I do not like that very much. So I'm going to do this again. Going into the Word, I'm going to get this cursor out of the way somehow. There, the cursor's out of the way. I'm going to take a little snip, new snip, snippety snip, copy. I'll minimize it. I will minimize this and paste. Now, if you want to, right now, you can pause this recording and make your own snip of this right here and paste it into your very own document, which doesn't make sense because I told you to print it. Okay, if you haven't printed it, you can do this now, and I think I may need to edit the video where I said you should print it because I think maybe this is a better idea and will save paper. So, assuming we did not print in this case, here is the formula. Now, the accepted value for the penny for the post 1982 penny is 7.2 grams per milliliter. Okay, that is the accepted value. Your experimental value is whatever your slope data is. So I want you to do 2% error calculations. 1% error calculation for the classroom data, in which the experimental density in this case would be 7.14, and 1% error calculation for your data, which in this case would be 7.44. So you're going to do 2% error calculations. In each of them, the accepted value is 7.2 grams per milliliter. If you already printed, you can write it on your page. I feel like that got really confusing. If not, you can show the calculation right here. So here I'll show the calculation. Percent error equals my accepted value. I'm just going to put it in parentheses. 7.2 grams per milliliter minus the experimental value, 7.14 grams per milliliter, and that is going to be, I'm going to underline it, divided by 7.2, I think somebody's trying to get in my door right now. I do not want this underlined right now. I don't want any of that underlined. 7 point, I'm sorry, this is probably tediously boring. And it is times 100. Okay, so, and I'm not going to underline that part. So you can plug this into your calculator and get a percent error calculation. So on your assignment that you give me, you should have this graph, and a percent error calculation for each of your graphs. I will be available for extra help if you need it. If it's a Google Doc, you can use your name, Benki, Penny. This is terrible. Density. And go ahead and save it. And I would like a printed off copy. I would rather you not share this with me. I would like a printed off copy. So whether this is handwritten, I'm not going to have time to go and edit this video right now. I'm just not going to. So whether you followed my instructions before or you're following them now, the print off will either have these in handwriting or printed or typed. It doesn't matter to me as long as you show the answer. I'm not doing the calculation there right now, so I'll let you do that. So that is what I have today, and I wish you well. I hope that it turns out beautiful. I hope you have a little more knowledge about making graphs using Microsoft Excel, which is what we're going to be using this year. So have a good night, day. It's night for me right now. It's very dark in here. Have a good rest of the day. Let me know if you have questions. Thanks.